Morning, folks. How you doing? Chappie coming at you live up in Flagstaff. Got a job up here. And yes, I'm in the middle of the mountains. And for those, kind of to set people straight with Arizona in general, you got to understand that 2/3 of the state is mountains. I mean, everybody thinks, oh, it's just a big desert. No, folks, this is what we got right here. We have aspen trees. So Colorado, you know what to do with yourself on that one. It's just a beautiful place and a good opportunity to come up here and do a cast for y'all here. And I hope it's coming through because 4G was a little bit spotty, but it's very good to be up here with you. Now, folks, yesterday, we were talking about judges and how God raised up godly men to assist Israel when they had fallen into sin and been attacked and just overrun. And God always rose up godly men. Well, as we're talking church history today, we have to understand that all through church history, this phenomena can be seen, especially when it came to defending the faith. Now, I want to talk specifically today about Christians who were actually serving in the military throughout church history. And there were three that are actually listed in some of the histories that are out there from Josephus and such, and Hippolytus. And let me get the names right here. Maximilian of Edessa was one of them, Marius of Caesarea, and then Julius the Veteran. I don't know where he was from, but each one of these were men that were in the Roman army at the time of the early church and were Christians. Now, with the spread of Christianity, of course, there were issues early on because a lot of soldiers started coming to the faith and following Christ. And it was, at first, it was frowned upon, and many times they were actually killed because of their faith. And well, that didn't last too long. I mean, we do know that in the 300s, Constantine basically said, hey, we're Christian now. Don't worry, guys. We're going forth. We're now supporting Christ. This is now the faith. So we know that changes in the 300s. Now, as far as saints go, kind of just that stand out, we do have, of course, Cornelius. He was a centurion and continued in the faith. We have Saint Martin, who was another saint, and then Saint George. And of course, Saint George is the patron saint of armor, the patron saint of England itself. That's where you see the Saint George flag. So very, very godly men. And the thing is all but one of these men actually left their profession in the military and went on to do other godly work. But most continued to be soldiers throughout their lives. And I thought that was always good. I grew up with the calling to be a pastor and the calling to be a soldier. It's never been separated for me. It's always been one and the same, to minister and to serve my country. So I hope you think that's important. Realize how important that is. And that's been throughout church history. We see examples of this happen because there are times when godly men must resort to action against evil. And it's important to have those people and men in place. And we saw it all through the Old Testament. That's why we were looking at the Old Testament the other day with the judges. When there were problems, when people were falling away from God, when there were enemies all around, God rose up godly men and godly women. Deborah was a judge, to deal with the threat, to deal with the situation at hand. Again, it's all through church history. When we get to the Crusades, you're going to see, God rose up all of Christendom against evil. And it's very important to remember that he's got a plan, and at times it does take defense, and it does take going to war to solve those problems. Now, when it comes to that, we know St. Augustine has great apologetics for that. In fact, that's what established the just war theory and understanding that it's okay to be a Christian and fight. And that's critical. You have to understand that. Again, it's never been a question to me. Before the invasion into Iraq, the Catholic bishop of the armed forces was trying to relay that to his Catholic soldiers. Many 99% didn't have an issue. There was like 1% that was kind of iffy. Should we go to war? Well, I mean, you're in the military. You probably should have thought of that before you joined. And he brought up the example of the Good Samaritan, the parable of the Good Samaritan. And he basically asked the question, if the Good Samaritan had been a little earlier in his travel down the road and came upon the Jewish fella that was being beat up when he was being beat up, would he have just stopped and said, okay, guys, just beat him up. I'm going to take him down to the inn later and take care of him. The bishop basically said, I think that the Good Samaritan probably would have taken action to help protect the guy who was getting beaten up. And you got to understand, in our profession of arms, us soldiers and us Christian soldiers, one of the values we hold deep in our heart is defending the weak, defending the poor, defending the needy, not just ministering them and serving them, but also defense of that. So going to the point of having to do violence sometimes to protect them. I mean, you defend, again, the poor, the weak, the needy, the orphan, the widow. I mean, these are people that cannot defend themselves and must rely sometimes upon godly men and women who come along and will take their cause. So it's a very important message to understand, a very important thing to understand. In church history, you see that. You see that laid out. Now, it's not always, a lot of the theologians won't emphasize it because they're not into that stuff. But as a soldier, of course, you look and you see it. Okay, yeah, that's an example when God raised up a mighty army, a mighty man of God, or something to stop evil in its tracks. And it's very critical we understand that point. And, take pride in it, profess it, say, yeah, we are here for God, and we will do His will and His work on this earth. So just remember that, folks. I'm trying to think of anything else I could throw out here with this, because this is good, solid stuff. And when it comes to these guys and judges, folks, you're not looking at a bunch of weak little dudes running around, a bunch of soy boys running around. You're looking at some serious warriors. Serious warriors throughout the scripture, serious warriors throughout church history have engaged evil forces and brought about good. They've held those values that are found in the scriptures and definitely advanced them and proclaimed them. So, folks, be good out there. Again, nice scenery here. Beautiful up on the side of the mountain here in Flagstaff. It's good to be out. It's good to talk to you. And we'll be coming to you tomorrow with a patriotic theme, which we kind of did today too, but we blended the church history and patriotic, so that's awesome. Hey, folks, so good to see you guys. Walk like lions.